In today's video, you'll learn about OpenAI's deep research tool that autonomously browses the internet, analyzes vast amounts of data, and generates structured reports. We explore what this means for business leaders, analysts, and decision makers across multiple industries. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits of artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye, and I'm joined by my co-host Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're going to be talking about OpenAI's deep research tool and its impacts on business, specifically its disruption to tasks and roles that involve research and analysis.
Hey, Carl, I mean, this one really matters in the fact that AI-powered research can save businesses hundreds of hours by automating complex data analysis, but can it be trusted to make critical decisions? That's the big question. You know, in this show, we're going to explore how to use deep research effectively without falling into some common pitfalls.
I wanted to share my screen to show specifically on what deep research actually does. So I'm going to share the, in ChatGPT, OpenAI's new deep research, you'll see this button here, deep research. What's really interesting, and we have ChatGPT Pro, so we have all the fun 01, 03 mini, and I'm really happy, Jeff, that they're planning to make this a little bit more amalgamated, because you know how many business meetings have we gone to and people who have even bought just the plus version and they don't even use any of the tools here. They just use ChatGPT and they're like, I have no clue what any of these actually mean.
Well, and it is pretty confusing because you look at all of the different models, and in all honesty, it's kind of like there's no real description as to what to use where. So it would be nice once they start to amalgamate it all.
Yeah, so when you talk about deep research, this is where it gets confusing too. So even in the base model, you have deep research. Every single model has deep research. So for those who have Pro, or I know they're launching deep research for the other, for plus tier and even free tier. But when you do get it, you're going to be confused. What exactly do I do here? Now, I'm going to O3 Mini High, which is great at coding and logic, and it's really become my default. So what deep research does, and I came up with a complex scenario here to really stress its research capability and its analysis capability. So Acme Manufacturing, made up company, profit margins shrinking, rising labor costs. And really the two aspects are the research component and then the analysis component. So I have to press deep research and let's see what it does. So this is the difference between just regular reasoning or O3 Mini High reasoning and then actual deep research where it's actually asking you clarifying questions. So I'm going to give it a quick, okay, are there specific competitors, or let's go identify these manufacturers. Let's go with that, broad range. How about let's go North America?
And I think the interesting thing with this is that these prompts are things that you might not even think of as just a human doing research. You necessarily wouldn't think of these questions, which is kind of neat how it kind of gives you these options and starts to narrow it down for you.
Yeah, and I like it because this is the kind of stuff that if you're talking to a mid-level or junior researcher, they would ask these questions. Yes, prioritize policies, financial benchmarks. Give me these. And one thing that we found really helpful when you're doing deep research is make sure you add the fact here that you want a structured report with tables and graphs, and it will provide that for you too. Now this goes away and sometimes takes anywhere between 2, 5, 10, I've heard people 30 minutes to really do its research. So we're going to let that go and we're going to come back to that. Oh, what I really want to talk about is what are some of the best use cases for this? Everyone in AI is talking about academic research, right? Academic research, PhD level research, but how about business research? Well, to me, if you're a salesperson, especially in an enterprise level company, if you're not using deep research to research prospects, I think you're really missing out. There is a lot of research on the prospects you're having, and even doing market analysis and competitor analysis. That to me is table stakes.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, I think there's other things from a sales and marketing standpoint. I mean, when you think about thought leadership content, rather than just getting surface level topics, this can help you dig a bit deeper. Market segmentation and positioning, pricing strategies. You really have to start thinking about some of these things that could use some of this, big thinking to help you solve problems.
So there's one piece of the market research and competitive analysis, right? But I think the second piece is taking the research, to me, having it reanalyze to analyze that and provide you strategic planning and trend analysis. So it can do all these things all at once at a higher level than some of the other tools that we've used like ChatGPT or Claude or Llama. And even Google's deep research, it's more about finding sources, but it doesn't have reasoning attached to it. And I think that's the big piece, is the reasoning component. So here's an example that I've always wanted to try. And, there's so much data that every company has, especially let's talk about financial data and reporting data. Every company, every quarter has to, I don't think I've ever seen a company that doesn't provide reporting, right? Unless even you're a mom and pop shop, you still have to report something of how well your business is doing. And the larger it gets, the more complicated the reports get. And I know for us, it's the eye roll task. It's like, I hate every quarter having to find data and then put it into a spreadsheet of some sort. But now you have a tool that can take large amounts of data, like read massive Excel files, and then create a report from that. So some of the tasks of just amalgamating reports and doing analysis, you can cut that down by 60, 70, 80% now.
Totally. And I mean, I think the interesting thing with, I've been an entrepreneur for 30 plus years. A lot of the stuff we did, there were some really smart people that I've worked with, but I think this gives you a tool to kind of it's another brain at the table when you're looking for these solutions. I mean, from a business standpoint, if you're entering a new market, or if you're launching a new product, competitive intelligence, investor due diligence, if you're looking to investing into a company or buying a competitor or something along those sorts, this now gives you a tool and gives you access to, just material and information that we've never had before. And again, it's like having another body or even a couple of different bodies at the table helping you make these decisions, which businesses, in order to do this in the past, have had to go out and probably hire fairly high-priced consultants and academics to be able to help solve some of these problems. And now with these new tools, these deep research tools, you've literally got it for,
$200 a month.
$200 a month, yeah. And I mean, you try and hire a real brilliant consultant for $200 a month. It's just not going to happen. And I think it's almost a shift, though. I think one of the challenges, though, is it's a shift in thinking, because what you're demonstrating here, Carl, and what we're talking about, I don't even think people realize what they can do with it. And I think it's going to take a while for people to understand what the possibilities of this are. Because right now, again, as we've seen it day in, day out, most people think AI is ChatGPT helping you write an email. Obviously, this is much, much deeper than that.
It can still help you write that email at the end, right? That's not what we're talking about, but everything that went into going into that email, right? So let's say you're emailing somebody talking about summarizing research or summarizing something. All that task has already been done 70, 80% of the time up to that point, and then obviously reviewing. And we do have to point out that deep research still falls prey to hallucinations. You do have to check. One thing that I like to do is, once I get the full report from deep research, I ask another model, O3 Mini High, to review all the data points in that report and double check for accuracy of sources, or point out sources or points of data that may only have one source, or suspect sources, because it doesn't differentiate between legitimate sources of data and rumors, takes, people's own opinion. So you got to be very, very careful about that. And I think you can structure it in your prompt. So it's like, I want you to research this, but I want you to exclude any report or any source before 2022. Let's say that, right? To keep everything consistent or narrow, and then avoid any personal opinions or takes avoid any focus on just legitimate news sources, quote unquote, what is legitimate. But I'd be curious to see what it considers legitimate versus just opinion and social media posts. So those are the things that you still have to be aware of. But it doesn't matter, because if it still can do 60% of that and you have to do the last 40%, if you hire McKinsey, if you hire Boston Consulting Group, if you hire any high priced consultant to do that research, that 60% would have cost you thousands of dollars to begin with.
Yeah, probably tens, if not hundreds of
Yes.
thousands of dollars.
Yes.
You know, and I think again, it's one of those things that it once people wrap their heads around. And I think the thing is, like, we talk about some of these reasoning models, and you talk about all the time in our presentations that, you know, O1 is outperforming humans by 50%, O3 is 70%, and then when you take in the whole deep research side of it, I mean, I think that the capabilities are incredible. The one thing I was going to ask you about, and I wasn't sure, is I'm curious, because I really haven't played around with it much with respect to creativity. I mean, I think from a creative standpoint, do you know, can you use the deep research for creative briefs or product development or?
I think the beauty of this entire thing is that all these AI companies and labs are giving us these tools, but they don't have predefined how you should use it. They have like, here's how to prompt it, here's what it could be good for, but I think it's really up to us to decide, to determine how well it works for our use cases. So that's an excellent point. Could it, talk from a creative angle? It's like, hey, one thing I was thinking of too is, let's say you're a director or a producer of a major film, and you wanted to come up not just with ideas, but also it's like, oh, this situation happened, this actor got sick, we've had our budget cut, we've had this. From a strategic planning perspective of just that creative, what can we do? Here is the script, here's what we finished, here's what we didn't finish. Give me suggestions on how this thing would work out. And this doesn't replace the person's experience, but it gives that alternative, something that now has higher reasoning, and then that could do research on maybe other films that it could draw from. So something like that just came to mind.
Well, and I think, and that's the thing about just, I think about the Coca-Cola campaign that ran at Christmas, and it got a lot of flack for being AI generated, but I'm wondering if, for a campaign like that, if you could run through creative in the early stages to get feedback to see what it would do. And that's an interesting point you make in the fact that, this technology is so new. It really hasn't been defined. Like it's been rolled out, and it's guys like you and others in the AI community that are really testing the capabilities of it. And I think even with clients that we talk to, a lot of times people will ask us the question of, well, can it do this? Can it do that? And a lot of times our response is, we're not sure. Give us a few days, let us test it. We had a client just last week who was writing a proposal and had the RFP document and had a response. We ran it through, and it really did open up their eyes to a few responses that they missed, that previously they would have just submitted the proposal. And you made a good point to them, is that if they're not doing it, what happens when their competitors are doing it and their responses are much better and more in depth because they've used the models that are available?
100%. And one thing that I was thinking of, and I think, for any company, especially ones that do a lot of advertising, the big piece that we always talk about is my advertising working? What's my return on investment? I'm paying this much. And especially if you start paying Google AdWords, which is thousands, hundreds of thousands for a company, Meta, LinkedIn, social ads, whatever. Well, and for anyone listening to this, I'd love to see you do this experiment. Take your Google AdWords data. There's a lot of them. Export tons and tons and tons and tons of the reporting off that, and then upload it into deep research if you have the ability. And I think it's coming for even the free tier. I think you get 2 deep researches a day, which is still a lot. Put that in and just ask, hey, based on this data, what can I do to improve my Google AdWords? There is no human in the world or expert that can analyze that type of data that quickly and with that higher level reasoning, that like from a PhD level. Yes, you have some experts who may be able to point out and make some, it's like, hey, we should adjust this. but not to the level of analyzing that much information on a regular basis. So imagine if you just do that every day. I got this idea from McKay Wrigley, who has no clue about Google Ads. So he just uploaded all the knowledge and every day would ask, what should I do today? And it would give suggestions and he would implement it. Same thing over and over and over again. Now, the beauty of that is what happens. We've seen our demo and operator. What happens when all you can do is like, hey, now give me instructions that I can provide to operator to execute. So you provide that instructions and operator goes in and executes. You really don't have to do anything. You just ask one AI to do, and then get another AI to execute. That's a whole new business model, but I also think it's a whole new skill set.
And I think that, that brings up, ad campaigns 100%, but really, a business could run any current process that they have and say, this is the current system we use, this is how it operates, this is the outcomes that we have. Are there any areas of improvements? Are there ways that we could improve the efficiency of the system or get better outcomes? And again, you might have the deep research come back and say, no, the system you're using is just fine, but it's doubtful. It's probably going to come back with some recommendations to improve your system. Because again, the question we get a lot from a lot of clients is, I don't understand where to use this. Like, I don't have any complex problems right now to solve. And it's not like everybody needs a deep research tool, a PhD level thinking in their pocket every single day. And I think that's the thing about this is, again, this is different from your basic LLMs, other AI tools that are out there. This is when you have those big complex problems is where it can really be beneficial.
So I want to just point out a couple places where I think, like, for our audience, things to actually think about and potentially test. So we've talked about market research and competitive analysis, right? If you're doing any prospecting, $200 a month, like this should be a no-brainer. You have to have this competitive analysis, strategic planning, trend analysis. But I think if you start getting into finances as well, right? If you're an investment banker, you do a lot of research. You have to do a lot of research. So I don't understand why this wouldn't be part of your playbook. Now, there's the privacy aspect of this too. So you got to understand what goes in and then how to go around, what are the challenges. But investment financial research for any company, imagine having essentially that financial researcher, which is crazy. Policy, regulatory compliance. Here's a big one. We've heard this from a lot of people, and I know a lot of businesses have this. You have a lot of, for companies that have been in existence for a while too, they have data all over the place, right? And we don't know, is this version 1, version 5, 2025, 2024, all those things. This is another piece that can synthesize that type of data and provide that analysis for you. We've talked about product consumer research, consulting. I'm really curious how the consulting industry will handle this. And we kind of, in another episode, we talk about, well, if the Boston Consulting Group is actually going to be using this to do the research, why are we paying you to do the research that I could have done? That'd be an interesting question, right? And then journalism and media research, any detailed technical analysis. So if you have a really technical kind of business and you have a lot of technical documents, another option is to feed the technical documents into deep research and have it do the analysis. So it isn't just that. I've been the past couple of minutes, I've been trying to see when this will be completed. Yeah. And it's still going. It's amazing how deep this is actually running. And I just want to show you what it's actually doing. So these are the things that I'm crafting a structured report, searching top industries for metal manufacturing companies in North America. It's reading all these different blogs and content around and it looks like some of these websites are legitimate, not just like takes and whatnot. And it's really interesting to see what I would imagine a person doing this would be what, a day, 2 days, full work, 3 days, 4 days of just searching this stuff and extracting the information from this.
I think that's the interesting thing, though. I was just going to mention that, Carl, that the fact that you've got this deep research tool available to you for a cost of $200 a month, but the speed in which it can do it, because you just punch this in, 5 minutes ago, and you're kind of going back to it going, what? It's not done yet.
Yeah. This
is probably a week or two's worth of work. And I think that's the interesting thing with these tools as well. And you talk about that, this is something that, would typically take somebody 5 weeks, 5 months, could now be done in 5 minutes, 5 hours. And when you think about that cost savings and the speed to get this information, I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, so we're going to let this go. I guess I don't even know if we'll have this done by the end of the show. But some of the things, the types of new research that you could actually think about doing too, would be things like real-time crisis management. One thing that we haven't talked about this, which is I thought was really fascinating, is we're just feeding it data that is static. Imagine if it's running through real-time data. Imagine what potential you could have there. Any type of product innovation. I think if you're trying to get your product off the ground, or you have new products that you want to launch, wouldn't it be kind of neat to provide all that information and then get actual feedback? Because you know how long it takes to get feedback from products. Imagine this providing you instant feedback too. Supply chain management, any type of policy and regulation foresights. You obviously have the customer experience and analysis there. So there's a lot of stuff that I think is super untapped. But like you said, Jeff, most people don't know how to use this. And I think it's kind of up to us to figure it out.
And I think the thing about it too is that, and we talk about that with our business, we have to build a moat around our business because we know our business will be cannibalized to some degree by AI. But think about it when you talk about products. Think about a competitor releases a new product or service and they're taking the market by storm. Well, use a tool like this to research their product and come up with a better product, because chances are if you're not doing it to their products, they're going to be doing it to your products. So how do you stay ahead of the competition and continue to evolve? And it's going to be interesting to see in the years to come that, you know, somebody will release a product today and the competitor will come out with a better product a week later, and it'll just keep improving the product outcomes because you have these tools available.
So a couple thoughts for you, for our audience here. Would you trust a tool like Deep Research? And I'm sure other companies and AI labs will be coming out with new tools as well to inform your major business decisions. Two, how much of your company research process could be potentially automated without losing the quality? And then if AI can analyze market trends faster than people, what unique value does human expertise still bring to the table? Learn more about AI tools that can impact your industry by watching these videos here. Enjoy this episode. Want to learn how AI can impact your business? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next episode.